3 million years ago, Lucy walked the Earth, a fragile being in a challenging world. Her survival was not just a miracle of evolution, but a testament to resilience and adaptation. Today, we face another test of survival. This time, it's not about one species, it's about all life on Earth.
All human beings are belonged from here, and gradually they disperse into different parts of Ethiopia, and that helps also for the study of the overall the nature of humanity.
Forests are vanishing, oceans are rising, and heat waves scorch the land.
Ethiopia, as a country found in the Horn of Africa, where climate change is a very serious problem, I may say, is one of the countries which significantly and increasingly affected by climate change. It's not only climate change that have been risking the development in Ethiopia, but also natural resource degradation, land degradation, deforestation of forests, and also desertification.
Like Lucy, we must adapt. But this time, the challenge is global, and the stakes are existential.
Not emit so much. Our responsibility is 4% or even less than 4%. So because we are not an industrialized region, so what we are asking is that we are vulnerable and the most affected by the impact of climate change. So what we are saying that we cannot control it and we cannot blame anybody. We just have to start having a program, a resilient program on our action of development.
Many people used to joke at first about climate change and saying, well, we have such short summers, we will now have longer summers, we can go to the beach for a longer period of time. But in point of fact, one of the results of changes in the Baltic Sea is that we are having severe coastal erosion. We are losing significant amounts of territory. We're already a small country, and every year the sea chews away at our sandy shores. And even though the beaches are beautiful and so on, and this is something that you can't even stop it.
Climate change organisations have
emissions of greenhouse gases.
Climate change is now happening.
Indonesia says it's
10 million tons of.
The Philippines stops it susceptible to hazardous prospects.
In 2024, global CO2 emissions hit a record 41.6 billion metric tons.
We are talking about future. That means we need to have the young generation fully aware of climate change and the impact of the global warming. So we need to invest in education, first of all. When we talk about education, we are talking about also creativity. We are talking about technology and behaviors.
Iraq, like many other countries, has suffered from climate change and from rise of temperature. Unfortunately, For the last 10 or 15 years, Iraq faces many years drought and reduce in rainfall, reduce in snowfall, and reduce even in the amount of water which we receive from our neighboring countries to Iraq.
We have some of our member states that are very vulnerable to any climate crisis, to any climate or environmental changes. So we have created a department called the Sector of Science and Environment, giving the environment its importance. But more importantly, we have also a sector for culture. We value the importance of culture in different ways. We strongly believe that identity is part of our culture.
Here we go.
From deforestation to fossil fuels, humanity's impact on the planet is undeniable. The Earth is warning us, and the cost of inaction is staggering.
Here we go.
Climate crisis is threatening not only human existence, but also other forms of being. And it's highly threatening mainly the marginalized communities in marginalized countries, such as ours in Latin America, mainly threatening women. So climate justice means that we all have a planet for all of us.
Nous prenons vraiment en compte les effets des changements climatiques. Nous y sommes plongés depuis de longues années, ce n'est pas d'aujourd'hui, et tout l'impact que cela peut apporter, disons, de la biodiversité. Alors, en peu de mots, nous faisons beaucoup. Nous avons mis en place des politiques, des hommes qui suivent justement les effets des changements climatiques.
Welcome to the opening session of the World Leaders Climate Action Summit. To invite His Excellency Mr. Ilham Aliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Azerbaijan is a country where East and West, North and South meet, and this is not only about geography. We can build political, cultural, energy, trade, transportation bridges between different international actors. As the president of COP29, Azerbaijan will do its best to find common understanding between developed and developing countries, between Global South and Global North.
For developing countries, the biggest challenge is that the financial commitments made in COP summits in the previous years have not been fulfilled. For example, $100 billion were committed on an annual basis, which has not shown any significant increases in the amount.
My very first COP was in Copenhagen back in 2009. I've been there as Prime Minister, and I do remember the title of what was, the catastrophic COP, because it has been complete unsuccess, So after that, after Paris, every COP has something to add to a huge success back in Paris. And also this COP will have something. I would call it financial COP.
In November 2024, nearly 200 nations gathered in Baku, Azerbaijan for COP29.
with us in the room, should anybody want to reach out to him, if you just raise your hand.
It is important for Bhutan to take part at the COP. In fact, it is important for every country in the world to take part. We know that climate change is real. We know that the effects of climate change are already taking place. We know that we must fight. We must join hands to tackle climate change together, and therefore it is important for all countries to take part at the COP.
Working very hard over the past 2 expected.
Dubbed the Finance COP, the stakes were enormous to finalize a $300 billion annual climate finance goal and bridge the gap between ambition and action.
After some years of
all for this effort and commitment put in.
Baku, there is a lot of expectation to come to agreements, to start implementing some of the very important commitments and agreements that were reached last year in Dubai. So there is optimism.
The conference began with optimism but quickly exposed fault lines. Wealthy nations proposed a $300 billion annual climate finance goal by 2035, a significant increase from past commitments, but far short of the $1.3 trillion demanded by developing nations.
The ambition that exists at present of 300 billion is actually seeking support of the developing countries, and that is such an unacceptable fact. It is not right that you should expect that from a developing country, and the developed countries are happy to say that we should be contributing to that effort. I'm sorry, we are not happy.
Disagreements over fossil fuels added another layer of complexity. Oil exporting nations led by Saudi Arabia resisted calls for phase out, warning of economic collapse.
Today, almost 180 years on from the birth of petroleum in the world, actually it was here in Baku, Azerbaijan. Today, petroleum and petroleum-derived products continue to shape how we heat and cool our homes, construct our buildings, and transport ourselves from A to B. Oil and gas remain vital to producers and consumers around the world. As His Excellency Azerbaijan's President, His Excellency Ilham Aliyev, emphasized at the opening of COP29, they are indeed a gift of God. They impact how we produce and package and transport food, and how we undertake medical research, manufacture, distribute medical supplies. I could go on forever.
Continuation of this work program.
Meanwhile, wealthier nations argued economic pressures, including post-pandemic recovery and the Ukraine conflict, limited their ability to meet financial demands.
Much more private
you can see there, policy.
WHO came to the COP29 with a report. The title of the report is Health is the Argument for Climate Action. And let me explain you why. Not only climate change is affecting very negatively our health. As you can imagine, when you have an extreme weather event, that will cause damage, and we will lose, we will have deaths and injuries of people. So this is a very direct impact of climate change. But it will be, imagine a flood or a drought will put at risk the capacity of having an agricultural production, and therefore we will have an impact on the nutrition of people.
A member of Stop Ecocide organization. In many countries,
1.5 years ago, I was here.
Climate change affects macroeconomic and financial stability, but it also offers opportunities for green growth and green jobs. This is why the IMF is engaged, and what we do is to work with our members on policies that would make their economies more resilient to climate shocks, and that would make them more attractive for private capital that would go into the new sectors that are sectors truly of the green economy.
The climate justice movement is strongly against private investment because it only drives solutions that will be profitable to that sector. So not only they bear the responsibility of polluting this big multinational, but also they are trying to make money out of the innovation and solution that they are putting forward that are not accessible in the context of agriculture to smallholder farmers, but only big farmers.
Frustrations boiled over. Bolivia, representing the like-minded developing countries, delivered a scathing critique of the proposed draft.
The UNFCCC scientists have tried to place the focus only on the human rights of people living in the global north, while they ignored the dignity and the requirements of the majority of the global population. The countries defending human rights within the convention are those committing genocide against the Palestinian people outside of the convention, and they pass huge sums of money around in order to generate war, while they deny the necessary funding to promote the structural solutions required to change the system.
But we have a right as countries to choose if we're going to take this or not.
Speaker of the day?
This is the moment where countries are supposed to agree to a new global goal on how much climate finance should be flowing from the developed countries of the global north to the developing countries of the global south. And that's money to support climate action of all kinds. So reducing emissions, transitioning away from fossil fuels, building out new renewable energy systems, but also supporting communities to build resilience to climate impacts and supporting communities to recover from climate impacts that have already happened.
Amid the chaos, Afghanistan, represented by the Taliban, addressed the assembly for the first time in 3 years, highlighting their nation's vulnerability.
What specific support do you hope to gain from attending COP29, and how does the Taliban administration plan to engage with other countries on climate issues despite the lack of formal recognition?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد
First of all, we deeply appreciate the Republic of Azerbaijan, particularly the Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources, for inviting us to COP29. In the last 3 years, at COP26, COP27 and COP28, we were not included in these discussions, and the rights of the Afghan people in relation to climate change were not considered. This invitation marks the first time Afghanistan has been given the opportunity to participate, and we are grateful for Azerbaijan's positive steps in this regard.
Azerbaijan دغه یو مثبت قدم واخیستو.
Every time as you narrow down the options, you certainly harm the interests of some parties. You certainly absolutely favor some parties. In between of this, you need to make sure that everybody is equally happy or equally unhappy. And we have tried to make sure this balance is being maintained. Have been shuttling around all the parties, probably behind the scenes. When we talk about the behind the scenes activities, we should talk about our engagement with all negotiating groups, even at late hours like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We have been calling the groups, please come to meet with us. We have some new ideas.
A revised proposal emerged, $300 billion annually by 2035, focusing on renewable energy, adaptation and technology transfer.
And
Muchos de los resultados esperados tienen que ver con los recursos disponibles para los países en desarrollo, tanto para sus esfuerzos de adaptación como para sus esfuerzos de mitigación y construcción de resiliencia. Uno de los grandes temas de esta conferencia de las partes es lograr una nueva cifra para la financiación climática.
So we are here together, several countries that have been able to come to this summit. And I'm happy that we from Zimbabwe have been able to come and participate and share perspectives about our respective regions, sharing the experiences of other regions here in Europe.
We are talking about the very challenging issues. It's about the climate, it's about the environment, and there are many challenges ahead of us. We should be just consistent in our reports on all the development situation. And I think that these kind of events can be very much important in terms of solving the issues. Of course, many goals cannot be achieved in a short-term perspective, but in the long run, we can achieve a lot.
Hope that this platform will provide a meaningful platform for dialogue, a space for dialogue and for solution seeking, between all the actors. Azerbaijan has very clearly shown the leadership with COP29 and has put Azerbaijan and the region in the center of the discussion in very important issues.
On the final day, the Breakthrough Baku Agreement was signed. It included provisions for carbon markets, operationalizing the loss and damage funds, and enhancing global accountability frameworks.
In COP28, we came up with CHAM, Coalition of High Ambition for a Multi-Level Partnership. And now, 29 is known as Finance COP and Enabling COP. So as you put it rightly, Kuala Lumpur and Masati, we are struggling also for the climate change issues or challenges. For example, like flooding. Right now, part of my areas in city, in low-lying area, I'm now in Baku. Part of the Kuala Lumpur is not big flood, but it's still flooding in some of the low-lying area.
The Breakthrough Baku Agreement marks progress, but it is only the beginning. For nations on the front lines, the fight for survival continues. From Lucy's fragile bones to the fragile state of our planet, humanity's story is one of resilience.
Industry occupies just 1.2% of the land on the planet. Agriculture occupies a massive amount of land. So it is agriculture, the way we are doing agriculture, industrialized agriculture, which is causing the damage. I am talking about fundamental strength of life on this planet.
But survival now depends on unity, ambition, and a shared commitment to the future. Green is not just a color, it is a promise to our shared future. The time to act is now.